how that's working. Well, I guess it's an angle, but who cares? Okay, so we're rolling. Happy New Year. I think I already did a water walk, a New Year's water walk. Anyway, I'm using the tablet my dear friends gave me to record. Oh, it really is at an angle. Sorry, it's going to be one of those videos, that's for sure. We'll take another leaf, stick it under there. Let's see if that makes things a little bit straighter. Okay, I think that's good enough. What do you think? Okay, so, yes, water walk. January, mid-January-ish. Ooh, the water is running quite slow. I have to block the pipe. Well, it's the dry season. We're getting into the technical hot dry season. Although we still have some nice cool weather. I'm still running with 4 blankets at night. Okay, that's better. So, anyway, if you've not watched these water walks before, what I do is I walk, sitting on a rock. I go up the mountain a small ways, not to the top, and to the spring. And the spring is just over there, right? And it's just like a little ways over there. But they run a pipe, and this pipe goes down into the big tanks that sort of supply the village, right? And all this water is gravity fed into the houses. And the people near here, they drink it right out of their tap. They'll run it for a while and then drink it straight. But at my place uses this runoff, but it's quite a ways down. So my friend Gung says, oh, maybe better not to drink it out of the tap, but use it for everything else. You can boil it and everything. And maybe you can drink it out of the tap too. But what's happened is I've been walking here to get my drinking water for quite a long time now, like a number of years. Like after about 1 year of being here, maybe a year and a half, I started doing it. So I've been here for more than 5 years now. Yeah. Hang on a second. Hang on a second! So I'm using the tablet, and I'm using the mic right on the tablet, which is why I'm not talking too much while I'm running things. But anyway, it's a bit of an experiment still to see how it works, you know? But I must speak clearly, because now the things... With my phone, I had a little mic that I put here, and I could do my usual mumbling. But I think here, I cannot do that, unfortunately, so much. But the advantage, I think, is that you can hear the sounds of the forest more. And right now there's some beautiful birds up there singing away. Quite a few, for sure, a few species of birds up there. Not too much insects. Sometimes there's a lot of insect sound as well. Right, so I come up to get water and I started doing videos doing this, and you know, I don't video every time I get water, but quite often. And it's become a kind of meditation to walk up here. A meditation on water, a meditation on kind of walking, anyway, walking meditation on, I mean, I want to say life, but it's a little bit presumptuous maybe. But anyway, we all need water, right? And clean water. So, and water's been well, it's important for everyone, right? Don't have it for a day, we're in big trouble. And I've spent a lot of time in the wilderness over the years since I was quite young. And most of that time was in Canada. and northern Ontario, and say in the Western Mountains. And in those regions, water's never really a problem. It's mostly clean and it's accessible. It's all over, right? But for 3 years between 2011 and 2014, I guess. No. 2011, 12, and 13, right? 2011, 2013, I did a solo long ride through southern Saskatchewan and Alberta on horseback. So 2 horses, 1 pack horse. It was, of course, a life-changing or life-moving endeavor for me in so many ways, and how could it not be? But in those regions, in certain areas, water was the most important thing. So for large areas, like huge areas, especially in the southern plains, I would really travel every day from water to water, right? And there was a real risk of not finding it. And say, for me and the horses, of course, and the horses drink way more water than I do. So I would always have a couple of liters spare water just in my pack bags, which is okay for me. If there was no water one night, I could probably squeeze by, right? But there's no way I could carry enough water for the horses, right? But on the other hand, horses can go a little longer than people, I think, without, but not that long, of course. And they sure wouldn't be happy about it. Anyway, so I kind of learned a lot about water on that trip, among a million other things. Strength, perseverance, weakness, frailty. Hold on. Like, it's interesting because we often like say, I'm powerful. I'm a powerful woman. I'm so strong. We like to say that. And it's true, right? Humans are actually quite resilient. It's amazing. But we're also so fragile, right? It's just like all living things. None of us are all powerful, despite all the superhero movies. You know, and everything has to be a superpower, right? So people, I don't know if it's Greta Thunberg was saying that her Asperger's was a superpower, if other people were saying it. But people were saying that, oh, my Asperger's is a superpower. It's like, you know, if you want to put it that way, it's like a strength and a weakness, right? I think that we have to always keep that in mind, especially in the context of what Greta is going on about, you know, with the climate and stuff. Anyway, just if you haven't been here before, these are always terribly rambling and usually way too long. But I don't know. This is what it is, right? I don't usually edit it unless something's really terrible, and usually it's not even something I say that's terrible. It's usually something like some weird camera thing happens. But yeah, so I don't really edit them. Part of it is because I can't be arsed, and also part of it is because this is kind of stream of consciousness stuff. And anyway, most people listening will probably be familiar with these things, and if you've come this far, well, A, congratulations, and B, you're probably an old friend. So, and also, what I often do is I ramble on about quote-unquote environmental things, right? Whatever it may be. And of course, climate comes into it, you know. And the thing that I wanted to talk about, specifically about climate, I think, is something that's been on my mind a lot. And part of it is a kind of hysteria that's happening. Kind of quasi, like nutty religious hysteria, it feels like. I can't quite find the right words for it, but it has that feel to it a little bit. Right? So first of all, I would, and all this is just my opinion, my observations. I mean, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna lower myself on it. My observations, my personal observations have been for a long time, decades and decades, right? Climate even for decades, and in general environmental degradation, almost my whole life, I would say, you know. So I come at it from a, I think, a legitimate place, but I'm still not a scientist, right? I'm still, that's what that is. I'm not doing scientific research. A lot of it's from stuff I read. I read some papers, but not a lot, right? So there's a lot of people you could look to who actually are in that world, right? Like Paul Beckwith, Guy McPherson. There's lots, Jason Box, especially in the climate world. There's lots of people that would be great to look up. And that's who I also listen to, you know. Listen to them all. I even listen to, there's been a fair number of YouTube videos kind of countering the climate debate as it stands, right? And I do watch those and pay attention, right? Because I'm not a big believer in they're wrong, so what they say doesn't count, right? That's incorrect, I think, because sometimes what they have to say does count. So a couple of videos I've seen lately have been talking about the kind of hysterical aspect that's taken over, right? And in that way, I definitely agree. For me, we're in big, big trouble, right? But it's a very complex situation. And sometimes people like to say it's very simple. It's not simple. In my opinion, the climate environmental situation is far from simple. And for me, one of the big problems is the persisting idea that climate change is a problem we can fix, right? And this is a terrible, terrible line that everything's going. And it's predictable, right? Because people are going to grab onto that idea rather than say, oh, it's hopeless, right? I don't think hopeless as a thing really, but the idea that we can fix it like it's a problem is a really, I think, a very dangerous position to move towards. So I think that all the Green New Deal stuff, crap I would call it, and anyway, whatever, is in that realm, right? So, and definitely all the renewable energy thinking is in that realm too, which is a keep things the same and get away with it thing that John Livingston talked about. And what is it? There's another term. It's just slipped my brain. Anyway, it's the same idea. But of course, okay, I'm just going to say one more time, in my opinion. I'm just going to say all these things, and it's my opinion. So, of course, it's not a problem. It's a predicament. And maybe more importantly, it's a shoot, it's too early to talk, I guess. I'll have a drink of water to help my brain. It starts with an S. Jesus. I'm thinking signifiers. Nope. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, I'll just start talking and it'll come back to me. So, it's a... I can't... I'm going to have to cut some of this. I can't not continue on without thinking of this word. Damn. Symptom! That's it. It's a symptom of a bigger problem, right? And the bigger thing is our human place on the land, right? Because of the way we live, or modern humans will say, and which is most people on the planet now, you know, the way we live creates the symptom of climate change amongst a million other things like habitat loss and species degradation, right? So there's people, you often hear about the extinction rates rising, but also I think it's important to be able to observe, and this is more observable, right? Species extinctions are, all we can do is take people's opinion, right? You know, scientists and whatnot, and Facebook posts about the species extinctions are so high, and this is probably true, I suppose. But the thing that's more noticeable to me is species degradation, like numbers degradation, which is really clear from insect populations, right? And people around my age, like I'm 62 now, so pretty much everyone remembers when they were kids and the number of insects around a light at nighttime or something, right? In the summer in the north. Or you often hear, oh yeah, when I was a kid we would drive an hour and have to wash our windshield, and now I can drive across Canada and never have to wash the damn windshield in the summer, right? So to me, these are the things that are observable. I'm not sure if I want to say they're more important, but there's something you can actually hold on to, right? It's actually something as disturbing and troubling as it is. I think maybe it's a way to not wallow in hysteria, because the hysteria is not going to help anything, right? And I don't know if you never saw the earlier things I did, like when Greta Thunberg was really big, like earlier last year, mid-year. A lot of that was like, I'm terrified and I want you to be too, the house is burning, all that stuff. Which is all true, but what it did was it created a kind of hysteria, and the response was ridiculous, I think. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's, oh yeah, there's a point to it, and then it just falls apart, right? Anyway, so I think that the current path is, no, it's incorrect. But you know, it's a mob mass kind of focus, so I can say what I want, but what does it mean, right? It doesn't, me saying my little opinions means nothing, really. And I think most people I know are choosing to go that route. I know of a few people that aren't, right? And it sure is gratifying to see them out there. You know, in this context, I think of David Ehrenfeld's talk in the early 90s on CBC Ideas. And he was on this show with John A. Livingston, and he talked about Wendell Berry, and he references him and says, you know, we're going to have to learn to live a little poorer. Which, of course, in the 90s, it just went the opposite direction, right? He also, in his opinion, we need to approach things in a kind of spiritual, it's kind of almost a dirty word now in some ways because it's so abused, right? But kind of spiritual / religious perspective, right? And there's a lot of negative stuff about religion going on right now, especially Christian religions, but to my mind, all of these different spiritual religious paths are trying to cope with the unknowable, right? The power that's beyond our human selves. So somehow, I don't know if we're going to find a route without that aspect of understanding that we're not the center of the universe, right? I mean, it's so obvious we're not, and people will say that, but people act differently, I think. People. I mean, a lot of. Many will talk about, oh, we need to find balance with nature, but in our own lives, there's nothing representing it, right? So, I guess part of it comes down to taking responsibility, right? I guess. And that's partly why, I've been much maligned for liking Jordan Peterson, but it's one of the things that he speaks a lot about that I think is really vital, and that is people, a lot, sorry, I keep saying people, I don't mean people, I just mean we hear a lot about rights and stuff, and as he says, very little about the responsibilities that go with that, right? So, but then you get into the issue of, oh, well, why should I do anything? It's the corporations the problem. Or lately, it's capitalism that's the problem. And sorry, but I'm just like, oh, climate change isn't a people problem, it's a capitalism problem. Like, oh, good lord. That's where this is going now, right? And I'm talking about on like Facebook and other social media. I'm seeing a lot of that. People spouting capitalism, but that's ridiculous. Because the opposite, you can't help but go, oh well, if it's not capitalism, then it's the opposite, which is socialism, but really communism. Say there's this dichotomy or binary, for want of a better word, of concepts, right? And of course, I mean, sorry, but a communist type of perspective or Marxist, whatever, is not that I'm an expert, but forget it. Like all of the communist countries completely destroyed their environment. Like worse than the worst capitalists, right? Not that it's a pretty low bar, right? so, this thing of here's the thought I have. Okay, it's not people that are the problem; it's capitalism. It's like I find it really interesting that many are more than happy to say the problem is capitalism, but almost no one is willing to go as far as saying, oh, well, it's industrialism, which is, you could say, modern capitalism is a outgrowth of an industrial structure, right? Mid-1700s or whatnot. So, yeah, you're not going to see people do that too much, because the repercussions of saying that are quite high. As in, your whole life changes if your goal is to deconstruct industrialism. So getting rid of capitalism, anyway, whatever. Maybe you get my point. So I think that's a red herring, as they say. So yeah, anyway, how long are we out now? 22 minutes, see what I mean? Just blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, so those are the thoughts I've been having lately about that. Well, anyway, I guess we'll find out, right? There's a lot also about a lot of reasonable judgment of the right and authoritarianism, right? The danger of that happening, and a lot of it's spinning around Trump's America. I don't know. Anyway, I can't be bothered with the Trump thing anymore, but not that I ever was much. But I do think also, and other quarters, other people are warning about it, the dangers of left authoritarianism, and that's getting less attention. So, okay, maybe at this I'll finish this little blurb off with this idea. Like, in the climate discussion over the last, say, year, I've been noticing little incarnations, little explorations into the government is gonna have to take over, right? We're gonna have to be, and I'm going, oh, or anti-capitalism, or some people even say I am a communist or whatever, right? I'm like, oh, no, that's gonna not go anywhere good, right? Because left authoritarianism is just as bad as right authoritarianism. and historically maybe worse in terms of numbers or statistics, but I mean they're all kind of the same story, I suppose, in the end. But yeah, so that to me that's the risk, right? Because and part of that, I think maybe part of that comes into the not taking responsibility part, right? It's so complicated. Can't just say one thing, right? Maybe. Anyway, and then I just want to talk about climate and all that here, but that also delves into what feels like the kind of nutty, politically correct stuff that's happening. That what they call it, call out culture, cancel culture, self righteousness, all that. Anyway, there was this video of these women doing that Chilean chant that women were doing, and they've adopted it, and they're something about, I guess it's Harvey Weinstein's trial. Yeah, you know what? I'm never mind. I'm not gonna go there. I can't be bothered. Anyway, so that all aside, very big trouble. Blah 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 blah. But at the same time, the crickets are chirping. You can hear the birds are singing here, right? There's still birds here, and there's still birds elsewhere. Diminished as it is. So, anyway, what's the point of that? It's best not to wallow in despair too much. A little bit's okay, I guess, but yeah, I guess it's not. I have an advantage in that I live high up, and it's in a village, but it's not. There's not a million people around me. This area has a lot of trees, and a lot of old trees actually. A lot of the trees in northern Thailand were cut, right? And there was a serious reforestation effort made, and that's my friend Gung was saying. Oh, that's a problem now because it's starting to go back. Like so, Nan Province in the northeast, there's a lot of forest being cut for cornfields and stuff, and that's contributing to the terrible smoke, and it's happening elsewhere too. But anyway, around me, there's some incredible trees here. And when I go to the ridge, which is just up there, a ways, oh, the trees are really old. You can tell when you go into an old growth area, there's this energy, right? I don't know how else to put it. It's amazing, actually, and I want to say it has a different spirit or a different energy to it. And this is so true, right? This is not, I do not believe it to be a made-up thing. So, yeah. Anyway, see if you can go to a old growth place, a forest someplace, or old growth native grass is the same. You might not think that, right? Because it's just grass, right? But no. When you wander through a huge area of native grassland, it has the same effect, I think. Like, whoa, that's powerful stuff, eh? And of course, the grasslands are almost gone too. Almost worse than the forest, but that's debatable. Forests are pretty degraded. Anyway, that's it. Maybe I'll do a bit of walking with this thing and see how it goes. I'm a little bit weak this week. I was a little bit sick the other day and can feel my energy's not that big, so I might keep this one short and only 29 minutes. Anyway, hope everyone's doing great. If I don't sign in again, and check in soon with you. Okay, thanks. Bye. Okay, I'm going to try and walk with this thing. It's a little tricky because, I don't know. Maybe if I do that. Well, we'll try a little bit. Again, I'm using the tablet thing, but kind of like that image that comes off it. So we'll do a little bit here and there. Let's have a look at the sky. Yeah, it's kind of, well, it's blue, but it looks white to me here. Let's walk a bit. Let's see how we're doing. Yeah, you know, I'm thinking that in future videos, maybe I could do the gabbing bit with this tablet. Then the walking bit, I can use my phone because it's just easier to deal with while walking. But we'll see. Maybe this will be okay. Maybe there's some kind of, I don't know. Actually, you know what I might do? I'm going to just do this. I won't be able to see the screen, but maybe that doesn't matter. This is probably going to be easier to carry. Okay, so I can't see what I'm doing because I have this cover. But maybe it's okay. Maybe it's all okay. Had a great kendo session yesterday. I missed Friday because they weren't doing kendo, but so I didn't go in there when I was in the city. But I thought, I'll just come in on Monday. So I just came in went in yesterday in the afternoon, rode my bike in. It's like an hour and 3/4 or hour and a half there, and then a bit longer back because it's dark, right? And then rode back, and it's a long ride. But we had a great session with the kids, you know. Really good, and this fellow Tony from China was back, and oh, it was great that he was there. It's great to see him. He's a really great person, you know. He donated a whole bunch of kendo uniforms, well, keikogi and hakama we call them, to the dojo a while back. Wonderful. So nice. Anyway, it's great to have him back. He's back for a while, then he's back in China, and then he's back here, I guess. And anyway, yeah. And it was great. I was doing some work with oji waza, which is a kind of defensive, you could say defensive techniques, you know. But, it's interesting in kendo because there's like shikake waza, which is like attacking type techniques, right? And then there's oji waza, which are defensive techniques. But the thing is with the defensive techniques, you can't just sit back and wait and be defensive. Do you know what I mean? You still have to have this feeling of pushing forward, and it's almost like, how can I put it? It's almost like, come on. And then, boom, you do your oji waza. Hard to describe. I mean, most kendo people, especially if they've practiced for a good while, will know perfectly well what I'm talking about and probably express it better than me, or, you know, whatever. Anyway, but it was great to see the kids do it, you know, because I showed them 3 different nuki waza, which are kind of, you could say, techniques where you avoid the strike coming and then attack, right? So I showed 3 different. Did I do 3? 1, 2. Oh, you know, I only did 2. Okay. Well, 2's enough for short practice, right? And they did great, you know. So it's hard to. Some of them are really young, and some are older. Like some Well, some are actually out of high school and in university. One girl, um, La, who just got her second Dan. Woohoo! So proud of her. Anyway, she's really doing great, and they're all doing great, all the kids. And then there's some other kids that are like in their later high school age and moving on, And then there's some really young kids, like really, like 8, 10 years old. So it's tricky to teach certain things, like those finer techniques, like Ojiwaza and Shikakuwaza, I think. But here's my thinking. It's important for the older kids to start thinking in those terms, I think, And with the younger kids, they might not quite get it at first, but they do their best and they do great, right? And I think that in the long run, even if they're not quite getting the full concept, it doesn't matter. They're still being exposed to it, right? And eventually that stuff just starts sinking in, I think. So, if you're into kendo, you don't practice for a year and then you got it. It's a lifelong endeavor, I think, for me anyway. And a lot of people I know in kendo, of course, a lot of people I know have been practicing for a long time, and that's how it goes, right? So it makes kendo a very deep practice. And it's even, like I've practiced with people as young as 6 or 7 and as old as beyond 85, right? That alone tells me something. Yeah, anyway, so here, my thinking with doing some Ojiwaza practice, and it was all connected with kote, right, which is the wrist strike, so like defensive techniques to a wrist strike, say. Here's one issue that happens, is that when you start doing a lot of Ojiwaza, it's really easy to like be really defensive, like go back and then boom, forward, right? And that's gonna happen, I think, especially when you first learn it, right? So it feels like a seesaw, right? Okay, here's my theory. I'm really gonna try and work on as I go along, right? So usually I teach the kids when, say, Laurent's not there, but sometimes when he's there too. We kind of share the duties, So here's my thinking on it. I'm going to continue with it, and then just go back and forth, right? So learn some defensive techniques, and then go back to basics, so that we can then also remember that it's not like someone attacks you, you go back and block and then go, right? It's always this feeling of forward energy, forward movement, So then my thinking is, just go back and forth. So we learn the finer techniques of Ojiwaza, and then we continue on to understand how to apply them. And believe me, this is easier said than done. And I find that too. Part of this is my own journey, I guess you could say, in kendo, right? My own tendencies to do what I'm saying we shouldn't do. So it's partly why I'm doing it. It's partly a little bit selfish, I suppose. It's something I want to practice, so hey, I'll practice with the kids. They're my little victims. Anyway, it was a fabulous practice. And the kids and I kind of watched them and kind of helped correct where I could. There's so much going on, it's hard to get to everyone, right? But do what you can. And it was great some kids didn't quite get it at first, especially one of the smaller motion movements, right? But then I would show them slowly, and then boom, they kind of got it, right? It's really beautiful to see how quickly they get it, right? Hey, you know what? Look, this is my favorite spot. This is going to be a really long video, as it turns out, because I've been able to hold this all the way down. So I'm going to walk forward a bit, then I'll switch to the selfie mode. Let's see how this works, eh? Maybe this is a good way to go. So this trail here, After these years, eh? It's an old friend, this trail. You know? I go when I need water. But I also, sometimes today I'm like, oh, a little tired, a little low even. Not depressed or anything, but just a little under. I think, oh, you know what? I don't really need to go. I could have waited till tomorrow to get water. But I thought, you know what? Today I'll go. Today I need to be on my old friend, the trail to water. And also when yeah, switch the thing. Okay, here. Hey, you know, there's this thing on this Samsung thing that says selfie, and well, I guess I'm pretty wrinkled. I was wondering if it reduced the wrinkles. I don't think it does. Anyway, so yeah, what was I talking about? Kendo, I guess. Oh, my trail, my friend the trail. Yeah, so it's so great to be here, and yeah, it's just, it's real, you know? Anyway, I guess I don't know what else to say. I guess that's long enough. Hope everyone's doing great. Yeah. Okay, thanks for watching. Okay, click subscribe and even the alarm bell if you want to. I'm actually wondering if I keep seeing a lot of people doing this Patreon thing, you know? And I wonder if I should do that. I don't really have enough viewers to make it worthwhile, but maybe I'll do it. What the hell? Anyway, thanks for having a listen if you've come this far, and even if you've come halfway and not listening to this bit, thank you for having a look. And I'd love in comments and stuff, I'd love to hear what people have to say, especially about the perceptions about climate and the current trend of things. I totally love to hear other people's perspectives, because my perspectives, I have a pretty clear thinking of it, but I'm not married to it, right? So it's so complicated. And please don't say it's simple. It's not simple. The science isn't even simple, right? Oh, well, the science is set. It's actually not set, right? Okay, there's some people saying, oh, it's not as bad as it was, but there's a lot of people saying it's way worse than they're saying. So there's quite a wide range of scientific perspective to see. So I think that's important too. Both what people say, the denier side, or the lessening side, we'll say, and the side that's more alarmist. I think they're both have a lot of validity and maybe important to have a listen to. Okay, so anyway, ciao. Until the next time, hope everyone's doing great. Enjoy wherever you are, and get out in nature if you can. And also, get out and train. Ciao.